Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of Revolution's latest releases. We're going to be talking about the colour book collection and more specifically about CB05. I asked on Instagram if you guys would be interested in seeing a review and then got you guys to vote on which palette we would be getting and we would be talking about today. So if you want to get involved in any voting for future videos, make sure you give me a follow over there. So the colour book collection is a collection of 5 palettes. So we have a grayscale one, a more neutral warm one, so it's all browns, a red and yellow one, a pink and purple one, and the one that we've got here, which is CB05, the blue and green one, which along with the grey one was probably the one that I was most excited about trying. So the idea behind these palettes is that you have 2 halves to it, one half matte shades and the other half matching shimmers. This is something that we've already seen this year from Sample Beauty. They did it with the Equalizer palette. I don't know if anyone else has done it. If you can think of anyone who has, definitely leave it down in the comments below. The first thing that I actually thought of though when I saw these palettes was more the Tati Beauty one. She has a bit of a similar concept where it's all the same shades in different textures, but it's more the fact with her that hers kind of looks like a book and it's called Volume 1 and this is what we've got here. We've got CB01 through 5. So I feel like there might be some inspiration there. I'm not sure, but that is what kind of jumped to mind in the first place. And in each palette you are getting 48 shades. And that is a lot of eyeshadows, and I will say it's a lot of eyeshadows for the size of the palette. Kind of expected it to be bigger and quite clunky, so I'm kind of relieved it's smaller. I feel like it's just not going to take as much space in my makeup collection. So I ended up ordering mine on the Revolution website, I think on Thursday. I normally order from Superdrug because they've got the point system, and if you've got a card with them as well you get free shipping, but they were predicting some like really insane shipping times and I wanted to be able to do this before Christmas, so I went with Revolution and the palettes arrived yesterday, Saturday, so really speedy delivery, no issues there. However, I will say one thing that did bother me. Even though the palette comes in a cardboard box, it had plastic wrapping over it. Now, Makeup Revolution is definitely a more progressive makeup brand. They're very inclusive, they're very diverse, and when it comes to things like animal cruelty, all the products are cruelty free. A lot of them now are vegan, but I don't know why they insist on putting plastic packaging on every single item. Can we stop this, Revolution? Please, can we? There was just no point. So let's take a closer look at the details of the palette. So up in the corner just here we have a little sticker that actually shows us the inside of the palette. It says on here that this is a palette of 48 professional shadows. I'm assuming they're referring to quality, so if it says professional on here, I'm expecting them to be pretty good. And we also do have the weight at the front, so you are getting 0.8 grams per shadow, which explains why it's a lot smaller than I expected. Now, just to give you a bit of a comparison, the Forever Flawless palettes, you get 1 gram per shadow, so this is less per shadow, but you're actually getting about double the amount of product in total in here as you are in here. So in terms of cost per gram, we are going to end up a lot lower. Then on the back we have the usual diagram. All the shades are numbered and anything with an asterisk is a pressed pigment. And actually from the look of this diagram, most of the shades are pressed pigments. They're actually in the majority this time, and we do as always have the not eye safe symbol for the pressed pigment. The palette is also cruelty free, but it is not vegan this time, and it has a shelf life after opening of 12 months. Oh, and one last important detail about the palette. Each one of these retails for £15. That's each of the palettes for £15. Now, as mentioned, we do have a lot of eyeshadows, so that cost per gram is gonna be lower, but £15 is more than I would like to spend on a Makeup Revolution eyeshadow palette, especially considering that there are 5 of them and it clearly says on the website, be a bookworm and collect the whole set. That's £75. for 5 eyeshadow palettes from Revolution. I have a lot of thoughts about the price, but I really want to get into the product, so let's get it open. There we go. So inside the palette is protected with bubble wrap, so again, that is plastic packaging. However, I think most people are going to be okay with this because you want your palette to arrive in good condition. So the palette comes in plastic packaging. I feel like this looks a lot better than I expected it to. I don't know, I expected cardboard, and actually I think it looks quite nice. It's also not super thick, so I really feel like this is not going to take up any space at all in your collection, especially if you did want all 5 of them. So that's quite nice. That has taken me by surprise. Let's just get it open. Let's find out what's in here. Oh, okay. It opens very nicely with a little clasp, and here we are. So we do have a little divider, a plastic divider in the middle. It's a good thing because palettes that have got eyeshadows on each side can get quite messy. If the eyeshadows are quite powdery, they end up mixing up. So having the divider here is going to prevent that from happening. However, I think this is aimed more at makeup artists. That's the impression that I'm getting, and I feel like if you're a makeup artist and you're working somewhere, you're either going to have this standing up like that if you want to have access to both sides at the same time. So I feel like you're going to bash your hands into it a lot, or you'll have to have it closed on one side and use it on the other, and then when you want to switch to the other side, every time you have to do that. I could see this being annoying. It's not removable, I don't think. There's nothing that says that it is, whereas in the Mitchell palette it's a mirror that you can take out, so I feel like that would have been quite nice. Anyway, shall we finally talk about these eyeshadows? When I saw the initial photos on Instagram, I thought the palettes looked like they were going to be really, really repetitive. I don't know, there was something about the photography that just made it seem like all the colours were the same, and looking at it now, there is actually a lot more variety than I thought there would be. The one column where maybe not so much is gonna be this one with the greens. They look quite similar to each other, and some of the shimmers look like they might be quite close. I think the best thing to do really is to get into those swatches. Now, for the sake of my sanity, I'm not gonna show myself swatching every shade on camera like I normally do, because otherwise I'm gonna be editing for days and days and days. So I'm literally just gonna show you the swatches on my arm. I won't have any primer on, it's just gonna be on my skin. Let's just dig in and see how these shades look. Alright, so I was going to swatch the mattes against their corresponding row of shimmers, but I decided against because I felt like that plastic divider was gonna get annoying otherwise. So here we have the 3 rows of green and the first row of blues. I mean, some of these have swatched really well. The darkest ones though. That first row of greens, not so much. Some of the shades definitely felt drier in the pans. Some of them felt a lot more buttery. Those blues look gorgeous. The darker greens look nice as well, but some of the shades do look like they're going to be repeats of each other. These 3, they might not be identical, but do you really need all 3 of them in this palette? You probably don't. Some of the shades as well were pretty powdery. The ones I would say were the most powdery were definitely the blues so far. So that's going to be interesting when I've already got my foundation on my face. So let's move on to the next rows. So these are the last 2 rows of mattes. So that's up to here, and then the 2 first rows and shimmers. So I've just decided to work the other way down that side of the palette. Have you seen these shimmers? I mean, these blues, they just swatched really well. Really, really well. And the only thing I would say is these 2 at the bottom do kind of look like they're the same colour. This one just appears to be a lot more shimmery. This one's barely got any shimmer, but I'm really impressed. I don't think I expected to be. Let's move on to the last rows of shimmers. Okay, so these are the last 4 rows of shimmers. They're beautiful. They look so nice. I don't know what I expected. I will say these 2 lightest greens at the bottom, the lightest matte greens were some of the least impressive. The same goes with the shimmers. They don't look like very much is going to come out of them, and in fact they both look very similar. That darkest green row that looked like it had a lot of repeats in the matte, they look like they've got more variety here. The 2 light green here, one's a little bit more yellow, one's a little bit more green. Do you need to have both in the palette? probably not. These are just swatching really well. I think we just need to get into an eyeshadow look, see how these perform, find out exactly what is going on with Makeup Revolution's formula, because these are some good swatches and I'm very curious right now. So I'm gonna go off, prime my eyes with my P. Louise base, and we'll be back to do an eye look. Right, I don't know where I want to start, but all I know is that I need to get as many shades as possible on my eyes. The one thing that I did forget to mention is that these shades do not have any names, so I'm just gonna have to point at them. Doesn't bother most people. The only reason it kind of bothers me is just more for Instagram when I'm posting my product list. I can't say which shades I used specifically. Right, I think we should just go into the darkest green. I'm taking that onto my Zoeva 231 and I'm gonna pop that into my outer corner. There's no fallout. I think this palette is gonna fulfill all my green needs that the Forever Flawless, the weed one, that palette didn't get on with it. Didn't have enough greens in my opinion, weirdly enough. I think this might actually be what I've been waiting for. Great pigmentation so far. It seems to be building up pretty well. I'm gonna jinx it if I say it, but I don't see any fallout from this shade. Yeah. The problem is it's really hard to pick what colour to use next now because there's so many. I think I'm gonna go in with, God, this would be easier if there were names. I'm gonna go in with this one. You know what, not even names, they could have gone for the same sort of numbering as Anastasia did with the Norvina palettes. That would have been quite nice. I feel like that would have fit in really well with this palette. So I'm just gonna blend that out. Oh my God, that's some nice pigmentation. And this one's got a little bit more fallout. I can see it on my cheeks. That is a lovely pigmentation. I'm not even gonna have enough brushes for this look because I don't think any of my brushes are actually clean. Well, they're clean, they're not dry. Next to that, I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna put it in the middle. This one feels like it's maybe taken a little bit more building up back. Very, very lovely on the eye. So glad I stocked up on more Zoeva brushes because this is exactly the video that I needed them for. I'm gonna switch to the blue side of the palette now. It's almost too hard to decide. I'm gonna take this one. Oh, that one's a bit crumbly in the palette. Let's see if it gives us any fallout. Took a lot less building up than I expected it to. I'm gonna jump back into that last green and just make sure they're nicely blended out together. I'm gonna move on to the lower lash line, which I normally wouldn't do at this stage, but because of that divider, I think I'd rather do all the mattes first and then move on to the shimmers. So for my lower lash line, I'm gonna take the darkest blue here, just on a small flat brush, and I'm gonna dab it into my lash line, maybe about halfway. Really did expect more fallout, but I think it's just the one green that's given it so far. It's a nice shade of blue. I don't really feel like I had one like this in my collection. And then for the front of the eye, maybe this one. Let's try that one. Ooh. The hard part of using this palette is definitely remembering which shade you just used because there's just so many of them. We're gonna finish blending everything out now because it does look like a little bit of an unfinished mess. I'm gonna take an E36 from Sigma and start with this green over here, which does look a bit dusty. And I'm gonna start blending the greens out up here. Yeah, this one's very dusty. Brush feels just a bit flimsy for it, so I'm going to try another Zoeva 231 instead. Oh, it's very powdery, very powdery. Each time I add more on my eye, I can see like a little cloud of dust. It's collected on my lashes, but I don't think it has on my cheeks. It's still just fallout from the one green shade that we have, so not too bad. I did expect it to be worse. Definitely is taking some building up, but overall it's still a pretty shade. Just taking that little bit more work. I'm going to try another Sigma E36 for a lighter blue, and if it doesn't work, I will just have to clean off one of my Zoeva brushes because I have now officially run out. I'm going to go into the lighter blue here. Again, it's looking pretty powdery. I feel like this isn't the right brush for it. I feel like this brush definitely doesn't work with every eyeshadow. Seems to be working a bit better with this one than it did with the previous shade. Very dusty in the pan though. Maybe it is the Sigma E36 that just makes them have a bit more kick up in the pan, I don't know. I just feel like I'm noticing it more with these ones. Just to help me finish blending that out at the front, I'm just going to use the same brush, take the lightest blue, and again that is really powdery, but it's just to finish blending the front edge out. Doing a little something. It's just blurring it slightly. Quickly going back into the Zoeva brush for the lightest green. Just making sure everything's nice and blended out. Just gonna go back into the darkest green. Just add a little bit more just closer to my lash line here in the outer corner. Just making sure that's really intense back here before cutting my crease. You guys, this is gorgeous. This is really lovely. The shades are really pigmented. Some of them definitely took some more building up than others did, but I love the way this looks. I really like the way it looks. I'm gonna go and do a half cut crease again. I know it's pretty boring, but it's just so easy to do and such an easy way to review eyeshadows, I find. So I'm gonna go and do that with a P. Louise base, and I'll be right back and we can finally have a play with those shimmers. Alright, so we have now cut the crease and I don't know where to start. I don't know what I'm gonna go for. I would want to use a gold with this. I mean, the closest thing to a gold, I suppose, is this, but it's not quite what I would want. I feel like I would want an actual gold. You know what, let's go with that one. So I'm gonna take it on a flat brush. This one's from Urban Decay. Let's see how that performs on the cut crease. I'm just gonna put it in the inner corner. I'm not gonna go any further. Just have a little bit of fallout. It's not massively dusty. If you watch my two previous videos, you'll know that I have had some very mixed experiences with pressed pigments in the past. Sometimes I really get along with them and sometimes I really don't. So far, this one is one of the easiest one to use. It's showed up a lot more on the eye than I thought it would. But I think what I'm gonna do on the other side is just spray it with some setting spray just to see if it gives us a little bit more, because it's not super metallic or anything right now. No, it hasn't really made any difference at all. The one thing I will say though, and I feel like I noticed this a lot with Makeup Revolution, I feel like it's developing a bit of a hard layer there in the green one, and that's even before I'd actually sprayed the brush. So even before I'd gone in with a wet brush, it did this, and I feel like I see that happening quite a few times with Revolution. So I'm just gonna go back into that one, and I think I'm gonna bring it in just a little bit further. See, this is the thing now, this is the only yellow toned one and everything's just a bit more foresty green. Let's go with this one then. It's a bit darker than what I would want, but it's kind of in the same tone of green. It's got a bit more of a yellowy tinge to it, I feel, maybe. Oh, that is much darker than I wanted. That's a shame. P. pigmentation on this one is lovely. The coverage is really good. It's not taken too much work at all. I'm just going to jump back into that other brush with that first one. I have got fallout now though. I am definitely getting more fallout from using the shimmers than I was from the mattes. So I'm just gonna blend them out together. They seem to be layering pretty well. So not too much hard work with these ones. I do really want to use a blue shimmer. So I'm gonna take the lightest one on a pencil brush, if I can find it. Yeah, I'm gonna take the lightest blue on a pencil brush. I'm gonna pop it on the inner corner. Could have done with being a bit lighter. I feel like it lacks some really light mattes. Like a really light green and a really light blue that you can properly highlight with. It's nice, but I feel like I wanted something really icy. Something almost white with a blue tinge and a green tinge, and that would have been really nice. Great, I think that is it for the eyeshadow. I'm currently wondering how on earth I'm gonna get rid of the fallout. On my waterline, I'm just gonna take my LA Girl Neon Liner, and this is the shade Electric. This is a perfect match for this look, but putting my finger on my skin has just moved my foundation. Ugh. Right, I am gonna go off camera. I'm gonna add some liner, some lashes, finish off the rest of my face, and we're gonna come back and have a chat about this palette. All right guys, so here is the finished look. So I added a little bit of liner. I didn't want to wing in the end, so I went with a more smoked out liner, and then I really wanted a nice bright lip and a lot of highlighter, because highlighter. Anyway, now first of all, I really like how this eye look turned out. I thought the shades were easy to blend. I think they look gorgeous. I will say a bit on the fence about the shimmers at the moment. I know I've only used 2. They're not really wowing me. They could be a little bit more shimmery, I think. Now, they weren't necessarily the shades that impressed me the most in the swatches, and I would have preferred to try the blues. I think some of the blues look like they're going to turn out much better, so I definitely need to do some more playing around with it. Obviously, this is a first impression. You can't test everything in a first impression, so definitely let me know if you want me to use this palette again in future, if you want an update on it, because I will be happy to. And here's the thing, I think I went into this review wanting to hate this product. I know, don't judge a book by its cover and all that. When Revolution originally announced the collection, I was curious, but the main thing that I was thinking is just the fact that these palettes are £15 each, and there's 5 of them, so if you're buying all of them, that is £75. That's a lot of money. I have probably spent more than that on Revolution, but I've gotten a big variety of items. I've tried foundations, I've tried palettes, I've tried highlighters, whereas this is £75 just on eyeshadow. I know that there is always the argument that some brands do one £75 palette, or, you know, even more expensive. Completely agree, but they are high-end brand, and Revolution is drugstore, and I think that anything that they charge more than £10 for is starting to be a bit much. Now, do I think this palette is worth £15? You know what, I think it might be, and this is what's really taken me by surprise. I think the packaging is really nice and really sleek. Like I said, I think that divider, if it could be removed, that would be better, but that is my personal preference there. The quality of the mattes was great. I mean, I feel like a broken record at this point, but I just feel like every time I try a new eyeshadow palette from Revolution, the quality just keeps going up and up. Yeah, I think this is worth £15 just by itself. Also, I will say this is probably one of the most original things that Revolution have done recently that isn't a collaboration, so I will give them props for that one. Now, do I think that they needed 5 of them? No. Do I think having 5 of them is a cash grab? 100% yes. The way I would have probably done them personally, maybe reduce them to 3 palettes. So I would have actually divided up the red and yellow palette, and I would have put the yellows in this one, and then the reds in the purple and pink palette, and just reduced the overall number of shades, because I still don't think you need all of these shades. And then I would have probably grouped together the greys and the browns palette, because I feel like that would have been a nice harmony. money. Like I said, for this look, I really would have wanted a gold. So I feel like you could easily get rid of some of the shades in here that are maybe a bit close to each other and add a row of yellows. That would have really worked for me. Maybe as well where they are different volumes, a bit like the Tarte palette. I think this would have been a really nice one to stagger instead of releasing them all in one go, because I think it does just give people the opportunity to pace themselves, especially before Christmas. If you want to get all of them, it's a lot of money. And another thing that Revolution have done that does kind of bother me a little bit is that they are doing an offer where if you buy 4 of them, you just get the 5th one for free, which sounds great on paper, and again, you're getting a huge number of shades. You're still paying £60, and I feel like this particular offer is there to give you a bit of FOMO and make you feel like you need to get all 5 of them before this offer is gone. Maybe you only wanted 2 or 3 of them. Why not spend the extra money to get all 5 when you don't need them? That's what really bothers me about this release, is that it does just feel like a cash grab. It does. I am someone who loves more affordable makeup. I like to know that I'm getting my money's worth, so the more shades I'm getting, the lower the cost per gram, the happier I am. But at the same time, it's a lot of shades. Are you gonna use all of them up, especially if you get all 5 palettes? Probably not. So in that case, is it a bit of a waste of your money? I would say that yes. Again though, the quality of the palette really impressed me, so much more than I expected it to, so that was a really nice surprise. And I do really like the compact aspect of it. Like, this isn't taking up any space. I think a lot of people will have a lot of these colors in their collection already, so I think if you really want to try one of these and you don't want to go for all of them, you just want to try one of them, go for the one that has colors that you don't have. Go for something that is really going to add to your collection. The only reason that I kind of see for getting all 5 of them is if you don't have any of the colors, if you don't have any eyeshadows. I suppose it would be a good starting point in that case, but other than that, I wouldn't go out and get all of them. Just getting one of them though. I never thought I'd say this, but there we go. I've spent more than £10 on a Revolution palette and I kind of liked it. There you go. Changing my mind right at the end of 2019. Anyway guys, as always, I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, leave me a comment, letting me know what you thought of it, and of course subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next video, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye guys.